Hey, welcome to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and this is the space to be for high vibe people looking to create a beautiful life and business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast, my beautiful friends. I'm Leticia Ringe, your coach, and today we are talking about elevating a romantic relationship consciously. This episode is for those of you who are already in a romantic relationship and now you're wanting to take it to the next level. You want to elevate it, improve it, go deeper, bring more consciousness to the relationship. Perhaps you want to experience deeper love together. Perhaps you want to experience spiritual intimacy together. Perhaps you want to experience more fulfillment together. Perhaps you want more meaningful connection. Perhaps you want more attraction and desire. Perhaps you want to feel like you're supporting each other's personal development and purpose. Whatever the motivator for wanting to elevate a romantic relationship, doing it consciously and implementing conscious relationship practices and principles into your romantic relationship will help you to experience a deeper level of love than you're experiencing right now, and probably a deeper level than you can even imagine. So the reason it can seem easier in relationships to just start over is because we have habits and environment and culture that we create together as partners in a relationship. And this really doesn't matter whether it's been 3 months or 30 years. When we come together as partners, at first there's a lot of attention and presence, right? Because everything's new. So our brain is on high alert, and which means also high presence. So the brain is using a lot of its energy to make decisions. But then somewhere along the way, the brain starts to shift everything into the unconscious so that you are operating automatically and by default in your relationship. This means habits and patterns that you begin at the beginning of your relationship really matter because they become the habits of the relationship over the long term. And so this is why sometimes in relationship couples, when they're discussing how they want to elevate their relationship, it can seem like it's really hard. In fact, so many of you might have already tried. You and your partner might both be trying and might both be trying consciously to improve the relationship, and yet you feel like your ways of relating, the habits and patterns you've created together, keep standing in your way. So it can seem like it might be easier just to split up and find new partners that you can start these new habits with. And on some level, it is easier because then your brain is going to go into being on high alert and very present. And then if you can give a lot of attention to actually doing it consciously and implementing perhaps all of the steps I've given in the previous episode, this might make and seem like things are easier. But remember, you've got to go through the work of actually attracting a partner. And the person standing in front of you, what you have built together today is so incredibly valuable. And while it can feel really hard to change those habits and patterns together, you definitely can do that. And as long as you both are willing to do the work to make those changes, you will see over the long term really powerful results together. And of course, the challenges that you face in doing that are only going to make you both more powerful in what you actually create together, the changes you create together. So my recommendation is to expect it to be hard. Expect the change to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It needs time and space because of the way your brain works and because of the way it creates habits and patterns in order for you to manage the rest of your life more efficiently. So know that the reason the mind and the brain does this is really to support you. However, in doing that, it actually then can work against you. So we need to consciously use our effort to bring presence and attention to the relationship. We need to become aware of what are the habits, what are the patterns, what's the environment and culture that we've created together here as partners, and what do we actually want to create together? It will use more of your time and attention, especially initially, but the payoff is huge. So when you're talking to your partner about elevating a romantic relationship, my first recommendation is to just discuss the fact that it's going to take effort from both of you, that it's going to be hard, that sometimes you're going to make mistakes. There will be moments of really beautiful, deep connection together, and then moments where life is busy and you go back into autopilot and you go back into default programs and you start to experience the past again, right? The past way of relating together. That's okay. All it takes is one person to say, hey, I think we need to bring some consciousness here because we're going back into old patterns, and we're both committed to showing up in the relationship consciously and elevating and improving it. And then you want to remember the reason why you're both committed to doing this. So all it takes is one person to remind the other, and if you can act like a team and make a commitment with each other, hey, we're both going to be committed to noticing when we're falling into old ways of relating that aren't serving us, and we just need one of us to remind the other, okay? And then together, you'll both be able to support each other in this beautiful phase of your relationship. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to share with you 5 steps to support you and your partner to elevate your romantic relationship consciously. Some of these steps are done alone, and some of these steps are done with your partner. Before I dive into the 5 steps, I want to share an idea with you that could make things even better. I recommend that you go back to the previous episode, which was all about opening a new relationship consciously. And I recommend that you listen to the episode and that you use the steps I share in that episode to start a new phase of your relationship with your partner. This is the conscious relationship phase of your relationship. The steps that I shared in the previous episode were all about really bringing intention to opening up a relationship consciously. There is no reason why you could not do the same thing right now in your relationship. Allow you and your partner to come together and commit to the relationship and to bringing consciousness to the relationship, and then taking yourself through the steps that I share there. This will allow a new phase of the relationship. A new commitment and intention is then going to activate both of you to a new journey together. And there's no reason why we can't do this at any stage of the relationship together. So do make sure you go back and listen to the episode. Now, if you're finding that you're coming up against really, really strong patterns together that are stopping you from accessing greater love and intimacy together, I also recommend that you go back and work your way through the rest of the conscious relationship process, the different phases I've shared, like conscious heartbreak, conscious dating, etc., because those episodes talk a lot about what to do to heal past patterns, and you'll also get a lot of value from implementing the exercises I teach there as well. Okay, without further ado, let's talk about the 5 steps for elevating a romantic relationship consciously. The first step is to always start with appreciation for what you have built together and for each other. This step I recommend you first do on your own. As the person in the relationship who is thinking that you want to apply more consciousness, that you want to elevate your relationship, I recommend you start alone. You do this step just with yourself because this is going to bring you into a more positive energy to create change from. Often when we want changes in our relationship, it comes from frustration. Usually we're blaming the partner, we're not taking responsibility for the relationship as it is, and we're even judging the relationship quite harshly. We don't see it for the value that it has and for the amazing success that you've already created together. Every single relationship, I don't care who it is, has valuable things that you've created together. And of course, each person in the relationship has so much value. So you want to start from a place of appreciation. Now, we always do this when we're elevating our life, no matter what area it is. In my work on conscious business, I was always getting my clients to start from a place of appreciation for what they'd already built in their businesses. When we talk about our body, when we talk about any other goal in life, we always are starting from a place of appreciation for what we already have, for what we've experienced, what we've created, because appreciation appreciates, right? When we are judging and saying we shouldn't be where we are, that what we've created is terrible, and we're not really expressing love and gratitude for it, but instead hating on it, coming from a place of fear or a place of protection, we're only going to create more experiences where that emotion is evoked. So you want more love and appreciation in your relationship and you want to grow and evolve, you got to start here first. Start with appreciation. So take out a journal and sit down and literally write what you appreciate about the relationship. Like, why did you even get into a relationship? What is it that you want from a relationship, and how have you already met those desires? Why are you still in the relationship? Because there are reasons that you are still in the relationship. So appreciate those reasons. And then think about your partner and think about yourself. What do you really appreciate about each other? We don't want to change either of you. We don't necessarily even want to change the relationship at this step. We just want to sit in appreciation for what is. Now, you might think, well, then why would I want to change it later? That's not going to be a problem. What is a problem is not appreciating your relationship. When you allow yourself to be in that love, that is an energy of abundance, which allows you to receive more abundance. When you're in judgment, you're only judging what you've already created, which doesn't inspire you, whether it's even just on an unconscious level, to create more. It just thinks it's going to lead to more problems, right? So start with appreciation first. I can't emphasize enough how important this one step is. Step number 2 is also a step to do on your own. The question you want to ask yourself is, could it be better? So after we've spent time appreciating what is, we now want to ask from a place of love and appreciation, could it be better? This is a very important energy to be in to explore this question. Because when you're exploring the question from a place of expansion, a place of abundance, you're thinking about it from a place of creation, a place of innovation, rather than a place of we need to change this urgently because what we've created is terrible. Then you're just going to be judging yourself and each other, and that's why we end up pointing fingers and not taking responsibility, and it feels like such a drag, and then you're not really going to inspire your partner to want to join in this relationship elevation because they're sensing all of your frustration and your lack of gratitude. They're not feeling valued or respected, and then therefore they're going to have a lot of resistance. So could it be better? And it comes from this place of appreciation and abundance. Now, in this step, you can honor your frustrations because your frustrations are really just desires. There's a desire there or even a need that isn't being met right now. That is not your fault. It's not your partner's fault, and it's not the relationship's fault. All it means is there is a new desire here. We all will have new desires, so there will be moments of frustration in any relationship. It's the same in business, it's the same in another career, it's the same in every other goal that you have. There will be things that work and you feel like all your needs and desires are being met, and then they won't work to the fullest extent. And then that's just an opportunity for a new desire to be met, a new path to be started, new lessons to be learned, new skills to be acquired. It's an invitation to go deeper within yourself. It's not a problem. So, honor your frustrations and desires without judging them and without judging where you are in relation to them. Could it be better? Use this as a creative trigger, as an inspiration, as an invitation to go deeper in your relationship together, to create new possibilities, to innovate, to explore more within yourself and your partner and the relationship. Step number 3 is also something to do on your own. The question is, where can I live more deeply from these desires within myself? Now, the reason we want to ask ourselves this is because you need to start honoring your desires from today. So you want to ask yourself, those frustrations you had, is there a way for you to meet those today just with yourself? The desires that you listed, is there a way to live more deeply from these desires today, just with myself? There will be many ways that you can live from these desires and embody them without needing your partner to do anything. And it's also an opportunity for innovation with yourself. This is a creative exercise. So answer this question creatively and be amazed by the solutions you pull out from your own wisdom. Some other questions that might help in answering this is, where can I bring more consciousness, aka love and awareness, within myself? Perhaps you need to simply sit with yourself more and notice what you love about yourself. Perhaps you want to ask yourself, how can I bring more love to the relationship myself? How can I bring more love to my partner? How can I bring more presence? And that is going to allow you to show up in the relationship in a different energy, which will create a new environment for both you and your partner. We can actually change a lot about the way we relate with each other through simply changing the way we relate in the relationship. Another question you could ask here is, where am I simply repeating patterns or acting from emotional wounds or modeling limitations that I witnessed in other relationships? This is an awareness building question. And the more that you take responsibility for where you're doing these things which are out of consciousness, so a lack of consciousness, the more consciousness and awareness you will be able to bring as you move forward. When you notice yourself in a pattern again, you can stop and breathe and just notice, this is actually me reacting to a pattern rather than me reacting to what's happening here with my partner. Perhaps it's time for me to just look at this a little bit more. Or perhaps I'm noticing that this emotion that I'm experiencing right now does not feel proportionate to what's happening in front of me with my partner. Maybe I'm actually reacting to a wound that I've experienced in the past. And so now it's time to take some time to feel the emotion rather than act from it. This is a beautiful step because you will start to live from a more conscious place without needing anything from your partner, which allows you to see the power that you hold in all of your relationships. When you change the way you relate to others, you will create new ways of relating with others, whether they're aware of it or not. Step number 4, ask your partner to do the same. Now, in this step, I really recommend that you come at this conversation with your partner, if you haven't had it already, using inspiration. You want to inspire your partner. You want to tell them how much you appreciate what you've built together, how much you appreciate them, how much you appreciate what you've created so far together and how far you've come together. You want to let your partner know that you've taken yourself through some really intentional questions so that you can explore how you can both take your relationship to the next level so that it can support both of you, so that you can experience deeper love, deeper intimacy, deeper connection, better sex. Like, talk to your partner in a way that inspires them and calls them in rather than calling them out and pushing them away or blaming or having them take all responsibility for the space that you feel between where you are and your desires. And So inspire your partner, call them in, ask them to go through these questions on steps number 1 to 3 themselves, and tell them why. Tell them it's important that we're coming from a place of appreciation together. Tell them that you want them to recognize what their desires are, because this is opportunity for you to co-create together, to innovate, to elevate. And let them know that you also need them to look at how they can meet those desires within themselves first, so that without you both needing to do anything together, you're both able to meet your own desires and then therefore show up in an abundant energy in the relationship together, which is going to allow for you both to go so much deeper. Now, I recommend that you make space to do these check-ins with each other regularly. My partner and I have a conscious relationship check-in that we do monthly that we created together, and we do that every single month. It's an opportunity to come back to appreciation, to clear out any needs that aren't being met, and to honor any desires that we have, so that we can both keep staying aligned and present with each other, with where we're at as we grow and evolve, and to where the relationship is taking us. So I really recommend that these first 3 steps you take yourself through regularly and have a conversation with your partner. That brings me to step 5. This is where you and your partner intentionally come together to talk about what you've learned. This coming together should be done with intention. Set a time and date where you can both be fully present for each other. Give this conversation the love and respect that it deserves. And then when you come together to talk about what came up for you in these questions, listen with curiosity to what each of you raise. Always start with the appreciation. There's a reason for the order of the questions. Then go to your frustrations and desires. You might want to phrase your frustrations as desires, because remember, a frustration is just showing us a desire that we have rather than sharing from the place of frustration. And I also recommend that you seek to hear and understand only. You don't want to come up with solutions or ideas yet. That will naturally unfold either in the conversation or at a later stage. What is more important at this stage is that you are simply becoming aware and listening to each other about what each of you desires. You will then be able to co-create together. You will see opportunity, ideas, a pathway emerge. I even recommend that you try to hold out from coming up with ideas for at least 24 hours. Perhaps you simply have this conversation and you come together, you share, you listen, you ask follow-up questions so that you both really understand what you're desiring. And then you agree to come back together 24 hours later or 48 hours later. I wouldn't leave it too long so that you're both really keeping the momentum of the conversation, but you give yourself time to sleep on it and see what ideas emerge. And then you come back together from a place of co-creation and you talk about the ideas that you have and you agree on the top priorities. This is a co-creation exercise. It's not a sentence. It's not a punishment. And so you really want to make sure that all the way through you're bringing that lens to all of the steps. This is to support you to go deeper. It's not because you've done anything wrong. It's because you love each other and you respect each other and you appreciate the relationship you've created together so much, and you appreciate that your needs as individuals and within the relationship change as you continue to live life. And so you want to give each other the time and attention and care that both of you deserve. Now, I'm intentionally not sharing with you any ideas for what to do next because I want you to use your creativity, to access your inner wisdom together, to come up with your own ideas. Start with one thing at a time. Perhaps each month you focus on one thing that you'll embody together, that you'll focus on going deeper into together, or perhaps each of you have individual things that you're focusing on. Don't try to do it all at once.
You need time and space. It's a process. Okay, my beautiful friends, so there are the 5 steps for elevating a relationship consciously. Now, I recognize that some of you might not feel confident enough to ask your partner to go through this exercise with you. I also recognize that you might have already asked your partner and they were not interested. I also recognize that you might have even sat down to have this intentional conversation and coming together and that it didn't end well. It's okay. Allow both you and your partner to make mistakes and also to change your mind. If you're still having trouble with this, do the work that you can on your own and give it some space before you ask again. There is always a great reason for the way we are behaving, and that includes your partner. So if they're resistant to having this conversation or exploring these questions or to talking at all about how to improve the relationship, respect their decision and seek to understand. Ask them questions about why they're feeling this way, why they're behaving this way, not from a place of accusation, but from a place of love and seeking to understand. If you can't have that conversation with them, just consider why they might be behaving in this way. That alone will support your partner to come closer to you. So focus on yourself first. Give yourself support to bring more consciousness and love and awareness to the relationship. Give your partner space. Seek to understand why they're behaving the way they are and see what unfolds from there. Now, at this stage in a relationship, outside support for either you or your partner or for both of you as a couple can be extremely valuable because of the habits you've created together, because of the patterns you've created together, and because of the way of relating you've created together. It can be harder to spot your contribution to the way you relate with each other. And that's why I highly recommend that if you are feeling called to working with a coach, that you check out my Conscious Relationship Coaching Program. We can do the coaching either one-to-one or with both you and your partner. You can find all the details at leticiaringe.com/coaching and then follow the steps there to submit your application, and then we'll have a coaching call together to get started so that we can both see if we're a good fit. Now, my beautiful friends, I'd love to hear from you. Come and share with me over on Instagram or TikTok at Leticia Ringe. I'd love to hear what came forward from this episode. And stay tuned for the next lot of episodes, which will all be about conscious relationship principles and practices. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and I appreciate you so much. If you would like support one-to-one as you up-level your life, business, or relationships in a conscious, intentional, and love-focused way, then head to leticiaringe.com/coaching. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.